Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today I have got kind of some colour experiments for you, so let's dive in. Hi guys, I thought it would be fun to share with you a little kind of thought process that I'm going through right now. Basically, let me show you. So recently I've been working on my montage, these drawings, right, which I really love. But it kind of brings me back to this sort of feeling of missing colour, and I would love to be able to sort of recreate these in colour using all the art supplies that I have, and just being a bit braver with how I draw, colours I use, layering things up, because I really love that kind of texture you get in work when you layer things. But I think this would be really beautiful to see in colour. And also, the feeling of something is so different in black and white versus when it's in colour as well. So just from that perspective, it would be really fun to kind of redraw these in maybe using different supplies or different colour schemes. I'm not really sure yet, but so that's where this thought comes from. I've then done these kind of like this one. So this was a similar thing of just splurging down loads of supplies, really playing around with what I've got, trying to layer things up. There's some quite interesting things going on here where you can sort of see other supplies poking around behind and poking through, and you get so much more depth to the work when you layer things together. So when it's not just one supply being used on its own. And then, yeah, I mean, I tried to do kind of like a coloured background and then draw in on top, and still it just feels, that feels very flat in comparison to that there. Like there's just a richness about this, which I find so interesting. So with that being said, and it being a new month, April, I literally pulled out, I've had this little plastic pencil case in my bag, basically in my travel kit for ages, and it's these here. So it's all my small art supply things. So I've pulled all of those out and basically splurged them down. I started swatching them initially here just to kind of see what I had. Let's move that out of the way. And then I was like, right, let's just start layering stuff. So again, really interesting here, layering these together, interesting things going on there. Here, layering these together, very interesting things going on there. Here, so I've made little notes as well, so like the mark making I was doing, the scribbles seem to add more energy. This layering here of contrasting colours, so I've kind of got a blue over an orange, that created some really interesting things. Down here I've written always having an underlayer of watercolour or some sort of kind of base layer of a watery medium versus just, because that was the thing up here, this is just the pencil on its own, and you can almost see like the white of the page poking through from behind. These are Neocolor 2s, but yeah, so it was much more interesting kind of what you get here when things are layered together on top of that solid watery background. I think gouache would be great for this as well. And the other note I made was layering 3 materials. So this was when I found the most interesting things happen, was when I'm layering 3 materials, not just 2. There's some really interesting textures, things going on. You're almost blending colours as well and creating your own colours. So yeah, that's kind of what I've just done. I then pulled out my colour wheel. If you've watched my colour series, I will link that here, and I'll link it in the end cards as well. If you've not seen that, I really go into depth about colour, how to use colour, this idea of making a colour palette, so, you know, creating or like pulling together a lot of colours that sort of work in harmony, and then you need something on the opposite side as your complementary, and that's what makes all your colours pop. So with that being said, I was kind of having a look here at what we've got. So I love this here, which I would say, let's put it as our complementary. Here is our bluish green, so this turquoisey colour, and then opposite that is literally this kind of reddy orange, pinks and orangey colours, which I think is definitely here. We've got the pinks, this orangey colour, all this base layer here. So that's quite a nice colour palette. You then also, if you move further out either side, you've got this magenta which is coming in here, and that sings really nicely over the top of that. They're really nice together. I've not really got any yellow in this, which is interesting. I mean, potentially there's a cream as such. Yeah, potentially there's like a cream colour as such. But what else have we got in here? So I've got some blues as well. So again, if we look at the blues, so blue here, opposite to the blue is the oranges. So again, they work well together. So here, like the blues and the orange, the blue and the orange. Yeah, just interesting how like that relationship between colours. I really love what's going on here. I think these look beautiful. So yeah, my idea then was like, maybe I should put together a few little colour palettes that I could then use to sort of recreate what's going on here with these. I was also thinking about pulling out colours that I would instinctively use. So from my gouache, I would love these. I mean, this is literally my favourite gouache colour, which is the Permanent Yellow Deep, which again is opposite. So if we go to yellow on here, so you've got the purple on the opposite side. I mean, to be honest, it's more green that's opposite our magenta-y colour, isn't it? Which I suppose is, yeah, a variation of this. So that's interesting. I've got my pink as well, which I love, this pink watercolour. So again, that's sort of opposite the greens as well, minty colours. I haven't got them on my desk right now, but my little pot of my Neo colours and my Inktense blocks, they're fantastic. And I have pulled out a few other pencils as well here, mainly sort of lights. I've got another aquarry one here. So yeah, I think I'm just going to have a little play around. And again, just try this layering with all these different materials and see how it goes, and see if I can pull together a few sort of interesting colour palettes that I then want to move forwards with. So let's do that. Okay guys, so let me just chat through what I have been up to. You'll have seen from the time lapse that I grabbed my paints, my gouache, I did some kind of washes underneath this, and then I just splurged loads of stuff on top. And as you can see here, the pages touched each other, so there's bits of yellow in here which have come off here. This to me looks like a dirty mess, so I really feel like I push myself out of my comfort zone to create these and just to play with colour. As you can see here, it's lots of pinks and purples, little bits of blue in here as well. The yellow is actually a good complementary colour for this. You can see here the things I swatched. But I think what I learned the most from this is that when I use my Neo colours, I never use them as a pastel, I use them as a watercolour. And that's why I just didn't like the overall effect. You can see here some things I've water activated them over the yellow gouache, so that's creating some interesting textures. But yeah, I just personally, for me, I know there's a lot of mixed media artists that work that way, I just find it too messy and it just looks dirty to me. But I'm really proud of myself that I pushed myself out of my comfort zone to try these things and really layer things up and really push the materials that I've got and use them in a different way than I usually would. Equally, the swatches look quite nice down here, but I found when they were all together like this, again, it looked messy. So it was interesting, that kind of correlation of having these lovely little swatches here, but it just looking like a horrible mess. So anyway, I turned the page and started again, and I was a little bit happier with these. I tended to use more of my pencils because you don't get such a messy after effect. This one actually, here I used my Sennelier oil pastel. This is an oil pastel. And this was really fun to kind of scratch back into with a pencil. So just drawing into it with a pencil kind of carved areas away, and then you can see the colours underneath. So I really like that. I think that's a really beautiful effect. But yeah, in general, I was just kind of layering up pencils. I do like this little colour palette here though. So this was very much a development, I think. So by the time I got to this, I was very much just using colour washes and then colour pencils over the top. You can see here actually that this Neo colour's not been water activated. And I have this kind of white thing here, is again the same oil pastel, so creating this really interesting texture over the top. But in general, it's a nice kind of smooth finish. And I really like that. And I think it was really nice to kind of reaffirm that. Anyway, this was then pretty much the colour palette that I moved forward with to create a piece of artwork. And it is so funny that to go from something so messy that I hated, I mean, it was a really fun process of just splurging colour down. But yeah, if you remember from back here, I was really inspired by these and wanted to create these in colour. So I then basically took this colour palette and created this. So it gives it such a different feel not being in the black and white. I know it's completely different images to these here, but it's very kind of punchy, isn't it? The black and white. It's I do love it like this, just the simple line work, but then having it all in colour as well. This was so fun to work on. And again, it is more like blues, turquoises, greens, and then I've got the pinks and yellows in there, and a little bit of red actually, which I've pulled in here for the toadstool. So again, I was layering things up. I was really water activating things. So the Midnight Sky at the back is my Inktense block in Deep Indigo, I think it is. But you can see here, so there's lots of things are water activated behind, and then I've just used pencil over the top. And I think this works really well for the type of work that I like doing. Again, it's the sort of thing that is not too messy. You can sit in front of the TV and kind of do it there. Just really nice. You can layer things up. And yeah, really, I was really pleased with this. This kind of feels again out of my comfort zone of doing something a bit different, working in a slightly different way. As you will notice, I did draw out kind of the plan, the overall bones of it all, using my black fine line. So it is still a black and white drawing really that I've then kind of coloured in. So it will be interesting to push this further and maybe try and do it without drawing it out first, just literally using my supplies to see if I can do that. But yeah, maybe that's something I can play around with in the future. Anyway, I'm definitely pleased that I went through these phases here of trying out different materials, different mediums, different colorways as well. I do love like pinks and purples. I think this is really beautiful. But yeah, came back to these sort of blues and greens. And then yeah, the sort of pinky colours, which I do really love. So yeah, really fun to play around with, and I'm really like excited to see where this goes as well, like moving forward. So maybe I should do a really big piece just on a big sheet of paper like this as well, and just yeah, see what happens. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes and the process and the thought process of how I work in my sketchbook as well. My sketchbook is definitely a place of play for me. It's definitely a place to try out ideas and experiment and yeah, push myself out of my comfort zone, if you'll have seen from this. But yeah, really fun. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want more sketchbook content, come and hang out over on Patreon. But for now, I'll see you next week for another video. Lots of love. Bye.